The small ship named Odyssey moved through the dark sea of space. Its engines hummed with steady rhythm, carrying a handful of humans into the unknown. It was supposed to be a simple test. For years, scientists on Earth had worked on a new kind of drive, one that could bend space and let them cross great distances faster than light. The test crew believed they would jump a few light years, gather data, and return home. Nothing more. But the universe had other plans. When the drive activated, a wave of light swallowed the ship. The crew felt the floor tilt, and the stars outside stretched like threads. Then, as suddenly as it began, the shaking stopped. Outside the window, the stars no longer looked familiar. The crew's eyes widened. They were not near Earth anymore. They had arrived in a place no human had ever seen before. Commander Hayes, leader of the crew, stood firm. He was a calm man, known for his steady voice. "Status report," he ordered. "Navigation is confused, sir," replied Lieutenant Carter, checking the glowing screen in front of him. We don't know where we are." Before anyone could answer, the radar screamed. Dozens of signals appeared all around them. The crew rushed to the windows, and what they saw made their hearts race. Huge ships larger than cities surrounded them. Metallic giants drifted in silence, glowing with strange blue and green lights. They were like floating mountains, each armed with weapons that shone with deadly energy. The humans had stumbled into the path of an empire, and it was clear they were not welcome. A voice boomed across the comms, deep and cold. "Unidentified vessel, you have entered the territory of the Galactic Empire. Power down your engines and prepare for inspection." The crew froze. The Empire's voice was filled with command, as if they were used to being obeyed without question. Most species would panic. Most would beg. But the humans did not. Commander Hayes turned to his crew. His eyes were calm, his voice steady. "Do not panic. Keep recording everything. We follow standard first contact procedure." Carter frowned. "Sir, they could destroy us in seconds." "They could," Hayes replied, "but they have not yet. That means they want to see us first. Let us not give them fear. Fear is what they expect." The crew straightened. Instead of trembling, they worked with careful hands. They logged every detail: the size of the ships, the strange patterns on their hulls, the colors of their lights. Outside, the Empire's warships drew closer, their weapons glowing like suns. Inside, the humans behaved as if they were studying a new animal. Another voice came through, sharper this time. "Surrender or be destroyed." Hayes pressed the comms button. His words were calm, but each syllable carried steel. "This is Commander Hayes of the human vessel Odyssey. We did not intend to enter your territory. Our ship is on a test mission. We come in peace, but we will not kneel." For a moment there was silence, then laughter. Cruel, echoing laughter from the alien commander. "You will not kneel? Do you even know who we are? You stand before the empire that rules 10,000 worlds." The crew listened, but Hayes did not flinch. His gaze stayed fixed on the alien ships outside. "We are aware now, and yet our words stand." The alien commander's laughter stopped. For centuries, species had bowed the moment they saw the Empire's fleet. No one had dared to speak so calmly, so boldly. To meet the Empire without fear, it was unheard of. The silence stretched, heavy as stone. The crew of the Odyssey waited. The Empire's ships glowed brighter, their weapons ready. Any second, death could strike. But Hayes stood tall, his voice echoing again across the comms. "We came here by mistake. But every great discovery begins with a mistake. You can destroy us or you can learn who we are. The choice is yours." The alien ships did not fire. Instead, they held position, somewhere deep inside one of the massive warships. Alien eyes studied the small human vessel with new interest. Whispers spread among the Empire's officers. This species did not act like prey. They did not beg, they did not cry, they did not show fear. They stood calm as if they belonged here. On board the Odyssey, the crew felt the weight of the moment. None of them knew if they would live another hour. Yet strangely, there was no terror. Instead, there was a spark of pride. Humanity had faced the unknown, and they had not bowed. Commander Hayes folded his arms, his gaze locked on the alien flagship. "Keep your eyes open," he told his crew. "The galaxy just noticed us. Now it will see what kind of people we are." Outside, the endless stars watched in silence. The Empire's ships floated closer, but the humans did not retreat. Suspense grew like a storm, for no one knew what the next second would bring. Would the Empire unleash its wrath, or would it invite these strange, fearless beings into its halls? One thing was certain: the encounter had changed everything. Humanity had stumbled into the Empire, but they had refused to fear. And that refusal was the beginning of something far greater than any of them could imagine. The Odyssey was pulled forward by beams of light that wrapped around its hull. The human crew felt the ship tremble, though no damage came. They were being escorted, or perhaps dragged toward the largest vessel in the alien fleet. Its size was beyond imagination. It was as if a floating city had been turned into a warship. Towers of steel rose from its body, glowing with streams of green energy. Windows the size of skyscrapers shone with alien light. Inside the Odyssey, the crew watched in silence. Fear tried to creep into their hearts, but Hayes's calm voice kept it away. "Observe everything," he said. "If this empire is as vast as they say, knowledge will be our greatest weapon." Lieutenant Carter whispered, "Sir, they could be taking us to prison. Or worse." Hayes shook his head. "No. If they only wanted us dead, they would have fired already. They want to see us." Minutes later, the small human ship entered a hangar so large it could have swallowed 100 vessels. Alien machines hovered in the air, scanning the Odyssey with beams of light. Strange figures waited at the far end, tall armored beings with skin like stone and eyes that glowed faint blue. The comms crackled again. "Prepare to leave your vessel. The Council demands your presence." The humans exchanged glances. This was it. First contact, not through words on a screen, but face to face with a galactic empire. When the airlock opened, the humans stepped out in their simple suits. Compared to the aliens, they looked small, fragile, almost unworthy of notice. Yet they walked with steady steps, their eyes forward, their posture unbroken. The guards led them through endless halls of steel and light. The architecture was massive, made to humble those who entered. Symbols carved into the walls spoke of conquest, victories, and submission. Every detail screamed power. The aliens clearly wanted visitors to feel small, but the humans refused. At last, they entered the council chamber. It was a dome of glass and metal, so tall it seemed to touch the stars. In the center sat the rulers of the empire, giant figures clad in robes of silver and gold. Their faces were sharp, their eyes shining like fire. They looked down at the humans as if staring at insects. One of them spoke, his voice echoing across the chamber. "Strangers of Earth, you have entered the territory of the Galactic Empire. Do you understand what this means?" Hayes stepped forward. His voice did not shake. "We understand that we are in your domain, but we did not come as enemies. Our arrival was by accident. We are explorers." The alien counselor tilted his head. "Explorers? Do you not fear the empire that commands the stars?" Hayes answered without pause. "No, fear blinds judgment. We came here with open eyes, and open eyes we will keep." The chamber fell silent. Around the council table, whispers began. The guards exchanged uneasy looks. For as long as the empire had ruled, no species had spoken so plainly. Fear was always the first reaction. But these humans spoke as though they were equals. Another counselor leaned forward, his voice sharp. "Do you know what we do with those who trespass? We break them. We strip them of their pride until they kneel. Why should you be different?" Hayes met his stare. "Perhaps you can try. But understand this, humanity does not kneel. We learn, we adapt, and if you strike us, we strike back harder. That is who we are." The counselors froze. The words echoed like thunder across the dome. Even the guards stiffened. The lead counselor finally spoke, his tone colder than ice. "You speak boldly for such a small people. Very well. If you claim strength, you will prove it. The Empire does not believe in words alone. You will be tested." The humans exchanged looks. They had expected threats, but this was different. Hayes kept his gaze steady. "We accept your test. But remember, a test reveals more about the one who gives it than the one who takes it." The chamber erupted in angry shouts. The arrogance of these humans, to speak so fearlessly before the Empire. Yet the lead counselor only raised his hand for silence. His eyes glowed with something other than anger, curiosity. "Take them," he commanded. "Prepare the trial. Let us see if these humans can stand against power." The guards moved forward. The humans were led out of the chamber, down long halls toward some unknown fate. The crew's hearts beat faster now, for the path ahead was a mystery. But Hayes walked as if he had expected this from the beginning. His calm face was a shield. "Do not falter," he whispered to his crew. "They want to see weakness. Give them none. Our strength is not in our weapons. It is in our will." Carter swallowed hard. "Sir, what if the test is death?" "Then we face it," Hayes said simply. "Better to face death standing than to live kneeling." The words burned into the crew's minds. They straightened their backs and matched his stride. Behind them, in the great council chamber, the rulers of the empire spoke in low voices. Some wanted to destroy the humans at once to crush their arrogance. Others wanted to watch, to study, to see how far this strange species could go. None of them knew the truth, that this first meeting was not the end of human courage. It was only the beginning. As the Odyssey crew was escorted into the unknown, the Empire began to realize something dangerous. The humans were not afraid, and when fear is missing, power begins to tremble. The humans were led into a chamber unlike any they had seen before. The walls glowed with strange patterns of light, shifting and pulsing as if alive. The floor was smooth black stone reflecting their shapes like a mirror. Around the edges of the room, alien figures gathered, their eyes sharp with curiosity. Word had spread quickly. New beings had entered the Empire and they had refused to kneel. Now the Empire's trial would show the truth. Commander Hayes and his crew stood in the center of the vast room. High above them, hidden in shadows, the counselors watched like gods seated on thrones. Their voices boomed from unseen speakers. "You claim you do not fear," one counselor said. "Then let us see how long your courage lasts. You will face the trial of dominion." The floor trembled. Walls shifted, and from the darkness massive machines emerged. They looked like beasts made of metal, each with glowing eyes and claws sharp enough to cut through steel. The crowd of aliens hissed with approval. Many had seen this trial before. It was designed not to test strength alone, but to break spirits. Few ever left the chamber alive. Lieutenant Carter whispered, his throat dry. "Sir, this is madness. They expect us to die here." Hayes's face stayed calm. "Then we do not give them what they expect. We think, we adapt. That is our way." The machines began to move, their heavy steps shaking the floor. One let out a roar that echoed through the chamber. The aliens cheered. They wanted blood. The first beast charged. Hayes shouted, "Scatter!" The crew leapt aside as claws slashed the ground where they had stood. Sparks flew, the stone floor cracking under the blow. "Focus on patterns," Hayes called out. His eyes tracked the machines with sharp precision. He noticed the glowing joints on their arms and legs, brighter than the rest of their armor. "Weak points. Carter, aim your scanner at that joint." Carter raised his handheld device, beams of light flashing as data appeared on his screen. "Confirmed, sir. Energy lines are weakest there." Hayes nodded. "Then that is where we strike." The crew had no heavy weapons, but they had tools, scanners, and sharp minds. Working together, they lured the first beast into lunging again. At the last moment, Hayes rolled aside and slammed an energy cutter against the joint. Sparks erupted and the machine stumbled. The crowd gasped. Another machine roared, rushing toward them. The humans moved with quick, careful steps, dodging instead of fighting head-on. Every move was calculated. Every strike was aimed at weak points. One by one, the mighty machines faltered, sparks flying as their bodies collapsed. The alien crowd's cheers turned into uneasy murmurs. This was not how the trial was supposed to go. The prey was meant to scream. They were meant to break, but these humans worked with calm precision, their faces set with determination. Sweat rolled down Carter's forehead as another beast fell with a crash. We're actually doing this, sir." Hayes's voice was steady. "Of course we are. We are human." Soon only one machine remained. Larger than the rest, its body glowed brighter, its steps heavier. The ground shook as it advanced. The counselors leaned forward, their eyes fixed. This was the final strike of the trial, the moment when even the strongest were meant to fall. The giant beast charged. The humans stood their ground. At the last second, Hayes shouted, "Now!" Carter fired the scanner at its head, blinding its sensors. Another crew member hurled a flare to its feet, the flash disorienting the machine. Hayes sprinted forward, sliding under the beast's belly. With both hands, he drove the energy cutter into its central core. The chamber shook with a blinding flash. The machine let out a metallic scream before collapsing, sparks flying across the floor. Silence followed. For a long moment, no one spoke. The humans stood among the wreckage, their chests rising and falling with heavy breaths. Not one of them had knelt. Not one of them had begged. They had faced the trial and won. The silence broke with whispers from the alien crowd. Some were shocked, others angry. This was not possible. No new species had ever defeated the trial of dominion. From above, the lead counselor's voice echoed, sharp and filled with something new. Uncertainty. "You survived." Hayes looked up, his face calm though sweat lined his brow. "We did not survive. We overcame. That is the difference." The words cut through the chamber like a blade. The counselors shifted uncomfortably, and the alien guards lowered their eyes. This small group of humans had done more than win a trial. They had planted doubt in the heart of the Empire. The lead counselor's voice hardened. Do not mistake this victory for greatness. You faced machines, not the Empire's true power. Hayes replied without fear. Power is not shown by destroying the weak. It is shown by how you face those who will not bow. Gasps rippled through the chamber. No one had spoken to the council in such a way. The humans were escorted out, but the atmosphere had changed. The Empire's people whispered among themselves. Who were these beings that refused fear? Who were these explorers who turned trials into triumphs? As the humans walked back through the endless halls, Carter whispered, Sir, I think we just painted a target on our backs. Hayes gave a faint smile. Perhaps, but we also opened their eyes. And once eyes are opened, they cannot be closed. The crew walked on, not knowing what came next. The Empire had tested them, but the true test was only beginning. For courage does not end in a single chamber. It grows, spreading like fire in the dark. And in the heart of the Empire, fear had shifted. It no longer belonged to the humans. It had begun to creep into the Empire itself. The humans were returned to their ship after the trial. Guards said nothing, their glowing eyes avoiding direct contact. The crowd outside whispered, watching the small vessel that had stood against the Empire's machines. For the first time in centuries, doubt had touched the Empire's halls. Commander Hayes stood at the window of the Odyssey, looking out at the endless steel walls of the alien flagship. They are not finished with us, he said quietly. This was only the beginning. Lieutenant Carter sat at his console reading the flood of data gathered during the trial. Sir, the Council underestimated us once. They will not do it again. If they test us further, it will not be machines. It will be them. Hayes gave a short nod. Then we prepare. Not for fear. For proof. Humanity does not falter. Far above in the Grand Council chamber, the rulers of the Empire argued. Some shouted for immediate destruction. Others demanded restraint. One counselor slammed a clawed hand against the table. This species is dangerous, not because of their weapons, but because of their minds. Did you not see how they fought? They think like predators, not prey. Another counselor, robed in silver, leaned forward. Perhaps that is what makes them valuable. The Empire thrives on strength. If they can be bent, they could serve. And bent? Scoffed another. Did you not hear them? They will not kneel. Their leader's words were not empty. They would rather die than bend. The chamber filled with noise, voices clashing like storms. For the first time in centuries, the council was divided. Usually, fear united their rule. But these humans had planted something new. Uncertainty. Meanwhile, aboard the Odyssey, the crew received unexpected visitors. A smaller ship docked, and from it emerged a group of alien envoys. Their armor was less imposing, their steps cautious. They carried no weapons, only tablets glowing with strange symbols. The lead envoy spoke in a soft tone. Commander Hayes, the council wishes to discuss terms. Hayes's eyes narrowed. Terms? Yes, the envoy said. You have shown skill. The Empire respects skill, but there are those who believe you must still prove your place. The council debates your future even now. Hayes exchanged a glance with his crew. Then we will attend their debate. If they want to decide our fate, they will do it while looking us in the eye. The envoys hesitated, then bowed slightly. Very well. The humans were brought once more into the vast chamber. This time the atmosphere was different. The counselors did not laugh. Their eyes were sharp, measuring, uneasy. One spoke with a low growl. You have survived what no others have survived. Yet survival does not make you our equal. Tell us, humans, what do you seek here? Hayes answered without hesitation. We did not come seeking anything. We came because our path crossed yours. But now that we are here, we seek respect. We seek truth. And if peace is possible, we will not reject it. But we will not bow. Murmurs spread like fire. The counselors exchanged glances, their pride stung by such plain defiance. The lead counselor leaned forward, his golden eyes gleaming. You speak of respect, yet you stand before the empire that rules 10,000 stars. Do you not understand the weight of those words? We have crushed worlds for less. Hayes's voice was calm as stone. Then perhaps that is why fear rules you. But fear does not rule us. The chamber shook with the force of angry voices. Guards shifted uneasily, their weapons humming with energy. Yet the humans stood steady, unbroken, their posture a challenge in itself. At last the lead counselor raised his hand. Silence returned. His expression was cold, but behind his eyes was something else, unease. "Enough of words," he said. "If you wish to speak as equals, then you will face us as equals. Not against machines, not against trials, but against our fleet. You will meet us in the stars." The humans did not flinch. Hayes gave a single nod. "Then so be it. But do not mistake our calm for weakness. Humanity has many faces, and you have seen only one." The counselor leaned back, his robes flowing like liquid silver. "Then prepare yourselves. The Empire will gather its strength, and we will see if you truly stand as you claim." The session ended, and the humans were escorted back. The crew's silence was heavy. Carter finally spoke, his voice low. "Sir, if they bring their fleet against us, we will not survive. Our ship is small. We are explorers, not warriors." Hayes turned to him, his face set in steel. "Do not measure humanity by one ship. We are more than this vessel. We are more than this crew. Remember that." Outside, the alien fleet shimmered in the dark, their colossal bodies turning like predators waiting to strike. Yet within those halls of power, the seeds of doubt had grown. The Empire, so used to unquestioned rule, now found itself uncertain. The humans had not come with armies, yet their calm was more dangerous than any weapon. The whispers of the crowd reached the streets of alien cities. Stories spread of the small beings who had faced the Empire's trial and stood unshaken. Some laughed, dismissing it as rumor. Others whispered of change, of cracks forming in the Empire's armor. In their private chambers, the counselors debated into the night. Some demanded annihilation, others demanded study, but none could ignore the truth. The humans had shaken the Empire not with fear, but with the absence of it. And for the first time in 1,000 years, the Empire was uneasy. The Odyssey floated in silence among the towering warships of the Empire. Each alien vessel glowed with lethal energy, weapons primed and waiting. To the crew inside, the sight was overwhelming. It was like standing before an ocean made of steel and fire. Any normal species would have broken under that weight. But the humans did not. Commander Hayes stood at the center of the bridge, his eyes fixed on the largest ship ahead. "This is their show of strength," he said quietly. "They want us to tremble. Remember, do not give them what they want." Lieutenant Carter's voice shook with tension, though his hand stayed steady at the console. "Sir, even if we stay calm, this ship cannot survive a full assault. One volley from them would erase us." Hayes gave the faintest smile. "You are right, but what they do not know is that we are not alone." Before Carter could ask, the comms burst alive. The counselor's voice thundered across the speakers. "Humans of Earth, this is your final chance. Surrender your vessel. Kneel to the Empire. If you refuse, you will be destroyed and your species will be erased from history." The crew looked at Hayes. This was the moment. Life or death would be decided in the next words. Hayes pressed the comms button. His voice rang clear, unshaken. "We do not kneel. We did not travel the stars to bow before threats. If you wish to destroy us, then strike. But know this, fear is not in us." The alien fleet stirred. Lights glowed brighter, weapons charged. For a heartbeat, it seemed as though fire would rain down upon the tiny human ship. The crew braced, ready for the end. But then something happened. The stars behind the Odyssey shimmered. Space itself rippled like water. One by one, dark shapes emerged, human warships decloaking from hidden positions. Their hulls were not as massive as the Empire's giants, but they were sleek, sharp, alive with blue energy. Gasps echoed across the alien fleet. The humans had not come alone. Carter's mouth dropped open. "Sir, when did we— how?" Hayes's eyes stayed on the flagship. "Did you think Earth would send us here without protection? We are explorers, yes, but exploration does not mean weakness. The galaxy needed to see our face before it saw our hand." The comms roared with angry alien voices. The counselor's tone was sharp with fury. "Deception! You hid your fleet," Hayes answered calmly. "We hid nothing. You assumed we were alone. You measured us by one small vessel. That was your mistake. Humanity is never alone. We are many, and we stand together." The human fleet spread across the starfield, engines burning bright. They did not fire. They did not threaten. They simply held formation, a wall of resolve. The message was clear. They sought no conquest, but they would not bow. The alien fleet hesitated. For the first time, the Empire's commanders tasted uncertainty. Their weapons could destroy ships, but could they destroy will? Could they erase a species that refused to kneel? Even before overwhelming power, the silence stretched heavy and tense. The humans held steady. The aliens waited for the command to strike, but it never came. Inside the council chamber, the rulers of the empire sat frozen. Their pride screamed for them to crush the defiance before it spread. Yet another voice whispered in their minds fear. Not fear of human weapons, but of what humanity represented. If such a small young species could stand against the empire without trembling, what would happen when they grew? One counselor finally spoke, his voice low. If we strike them now, they become martyrs. If we let them go, they become legend. Either way, we lose. The lead counselor clenched his claws. And yet, perhaps legend is easier to control than martyrs. A command was given. Across the Empire's fleet, weapons dimmed, engines slowed. The storm of destruction that had hovered over the humans faded into silence. Back aboard the Odyssey, the crew released breaths they had not known they were holding. Carter whispered, "Sir, did we just win?" Hayes shook his head. "No, this is not victory. This is recognition. They will watch us now. They will test us again, but today we showed them the truth. Humanity does not kneel." Outside, the human fleet slowly shifted, forming a protective wall around the Odyssey. The message had been written across the stars. Humanity had entered the Galactic Empire not with fear, but with unshaken resolve. The alien warships began to withdraw, their silhouettes fading into the dark sea of space. Yet their silence was not defeat, it was unease. For the first time in memory, the Empire had faced beings who did not bend, and in that refusal they had glimpsed something dangerous. Hayes stood at the window, watching the stars stretch endlessly ahead. "We came here by mistake," he said softly. "But mistakes can change history. Remember this moment, all of you. The galaxy has seen us now, and it will never forget." The crew nodded, their eyes filled with quiet pride. The future was uncertain. The Empire was vast, its power immense. But the humans had planted a seed of doubt, of respect, of fear turned backward. And as the Odyssey and its hidden fleet drifted into the starlit void, one truth burned brighter than all others. Humanity had stumbled into the Galactic Empire. Humanity had stood against its power. And humanity had refused to fear.